My name is Kuan. I'm the founder of Poncho. This is Greg.
Hey everyone.
Head of product. Very happy to be here. So today we're probably gonna give you a little bit of introduction about Poncho and what have we been doing after we launched on Facebook and what we're gonna do after this. It's gonna be quite fast presentation. Great, it works. So mobile and messaging is the future. That's what we believe. I believe most of you believe as well. So this is a chart I stole from Chris Messina's most recent Medium post. Basically what it says is almost a year ago, the monthly active user from the top 4 messenger apps has exceeded the top 4 social network apps. And a year later today, we're looking at Facebook Messenger, 1 billion monthly active, WeChat, WeChat almost a billion, WhatsApp, a billion monthly active user, and many smaller messenger apps. I mean, when I say smaller, they're also in the scale of hundreds of millions of users. And whenever you see a new distribution channel emerge, there's one problem that always needs to be solved, which is how do you deliver and create native content? And that's where we think Poncho wants to solve. And this pattern has been repeating over time. The first one happened was in mid-2000, Google search engine. We see companies built on top of SEO, AdWords, like Demand Media, Bleacher Report. And late 2000, Facebook, you guys dominate the internet. Companies like BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, Vice Media build things around social feeds, sharing. And the next one, we think it's Messenger. And we need to figure out a way, how do you create and deliver native content? Poncho would love to be in that company, because all these companies become very valuable, very high valuations. So I will give you a little bit of introduction about Poncho. So Poncho started as a very simple email service. Every day when you wake up, before you leave work, we send you weather updates. Weather has been very, very boring, and we want to make weather really fun. So we have comedy writers to write weather forecasts every day. We use GIFs, emojis, we make a reference to pop culture, internet meme. So we try to make weather really fun. We start with the weather, and then we expand to traffic updates. If you live in New York City, we tell you whether train delayed or not. Right now, we cover pretty much the most public transit in the United States. And then I think some of you have very beautiful hair, we're gonna tell you whether it's gonna be a good hair day or bad hair day. Because when weather gets humid, your hair gets frizzy. When it's windy, the hair gets so messy. We also let you know whether it's gonna be high pollen day or not. I have allergies, so I really care about the numbers. And also tell you whether it's going to be a good day to go for a run. It's a good day to go ski. And then we recently expanded to apps on both Android and iOS. Our apps is an alarm clock. Every day we wake you up with the customized alarm sound based on the weather patterns. Finally, bots. So on the Poncho Facebook Messenger bot, you can get weather, you can schedule push notifications, get severe weather, we let you when it's about to rain. That's a small feature we just secretly launched to a small number of states.
Yeah, last night actually.
And also severe weather alerts. And then you also can chit-chat with Poncho. We noticed lots of people asking Poncho about dating advice. They were cursed to Poncho. Next. So we use GIF in a very hot day. So we launched on Facebook in April, F8, and then we sent a very small team in San Francisco to support launch. That was basically during launch, Greg and his team coding Airbnb for 24 hours. And after that, we went to a party. It was a good time. So we had a good time launch on Facebook, but then we flew back to New York, looked at our product, looked at our engagement metrics. Our product basically was hacked together in a few weeks. We did not have any technology to help us to understand what people are talking to us, and our engagement wasn't good. Our retention rate was pretty low. People checked out Poncho talked to Poncho for a random number of sentences, then left. So we told ourselves, look, we are not in a position to expand to other platforms. We have to solve the retention problem. And then Greg is going to talk about all the cool stuff we built in the past 4 months, help us to improve our retention rate.
Cool. So one of the first things that we figured out was we needed to learn how people are interacting with the bot. What are the users saying? What are we missing on? How can we improve? So one of the things that we did was build a live feed so our editors can see exactly what interactions are happening with the user, with Poncho, and basically in real time be able to see, oh, we can't match on this phrase or this word. Let's take that, let's add it into our content management system, and then Poncho can immediately start responding to that as well. So we've been using this live feed to understand where we can make Poncho smarter. And that's just a bigger example of our live feed. So of course I mentioned that we have a content management system. This is essentially a way for the editors to write in rescript content, building out triggers and the different responses that happen through it. We build in a lot of functionality to target different platforms, be able to sort whether or not it's an individual or group setting, and then be able to tag and categorize what the priority is for this content. And then also make it easy for our editors to go through a preview, test things out before we actually publish any new content into the bot. Next slide. So one of the other things that we had a data scientist intern help us with is build a bot analyzer. And this looked at all of our incoming content and thought about it in the form of a network. So everything that a user would say, go through this flow, and the user would end up through some point along the way, hit these different conversation flows. And so, for example, somebody comes in and asks for love advice, or for the current weather. They may ask what they want to wear, or maybe they go instead ask tomorrow's weather. And then at some point, maybe they go through our apology pit, or they get somewhere else. For us, this was a nice way to see where we hit things on and where we can go better. And this is a network map of all the different content. The yellow stuff sort of represents weather-based content, and the red kind of represents the miscellaneous banter, things like that we do. And you can kind of see along the periphery, there's a lot of different conversation flows that we've also added in, and these triggers for users to hit that tend not to get hit all that much. Most of the content is settled in around weather. But we've been looking at this, analyzing it, seeing where we can direct users to new ways. And so we've been able to see how we can improve our overall response rate and see what we can do to improve our bounce rate, be able to nudge users into different conversations, and see where a user tends to stop and what we can do differently. So for example, on the first one, this is a hit on our forecast that we send out daily. And this has an impact global type, and you can see that we get a lot of traffic to it, and on just an average hourly basis, we get a pretty good number of unique users hitting it. And with the bot analyzer, we can actually send randomized probability type conversations through a bunch of like scripting flows and kind of see where things kind of hit. And for this, if we change the conversation flow a little bit, on the first one, we can improve our conversation growth by 4%, or almost 5%, which will increase our total number of interactions and reduce the bounce rate for that. So we've been looking at this a lot to see how we can maybe shift and change how Poncho responds to things and yeah, essentially make it be better, be smarter. Another thing that we've been building out is the ability to send out broadcast notifications. Some of you, if you've subscribed to Poncho, you may start getting alerts today announcing a bunch of new features that we launched last night on Facebook Messenger. This is part of our new notification dashboard system that we built for our editorial team as well to not only schedule pushes through iOS and Android, but also the different bots that we're going to start targeting. And we've added a lot of different targeting features so editors can go in and say, only for this country, schedule it at this time, criteria needs to be this, and as we also do A/B testing, be able to bucket different types of content and send it out to only a small percentage of those users.
Just to comment on that, 70% of our conversation between user and Poncho are started by push notifications because we think it's slightly too early for human to talk up to a bot on a daily basis. That's why we think notification is very, very important. So that's sort of the 4 key takeaways we learned from launching Poncho on Facebook Messenger. We start with weather because weather is the thing most people check every day. And we really focus on the conversation exchange because we think conversation is the most native form of content on messenger platforms. And then, like I just talked about, notifications, that's sort of a wedge to get into people's daily routine if you do it right. And make it emotional because we're humans. So after all the technology we build and all the updates from amazing Facebook API team, where you, Mika? We actually managed to achieve our goal. So when we launched on Facebook, our May retention was pretty low. You look at day one retention was almost below 20%. And then we were able to increase in July to higher number. And in August, we're looking at 75% day one retention and 30 days around 50% retention. So we are really happy with the result. So what's next? Gregory, you want to talk about Kick?
So we've been building out a Kick bot, and we will be launching this next week. We've been trying to think of new ways, new engagements that we can make Poncho fun and interesting for a slightly younger audience as well. So we've been thinking about sharing functionality through the new friend picker, group interactions, games, and also thinking about the concept of what is a weekly engagement that we can get users to come back to and try out. So we're experimenting with a lot of different forms of content, such as horoscopes, weekly comic, playful games, face swap type apps, things like that as well. And of course, the biggest request that we get from people is launching on Alexa. We've been working on that as well and hope to launch that hopefully by the end of the year. And then fingers crossed, maybe we can launch on Allo soon.
So on a content side, we launched horoscope. We think it's pretty cool to get weather and horoscope every day in the morning. I mean, in general, horoscopes really suck. If you Google horoscope on the internet, the content is boring like shit. We want to make it fun, short form, native to messenger platforms. If you just go to Facebook Messenger, type horoscope, you will start enjoying a horoscope right away. And then we are doing, using all the technology we built, like push notification, to testing those another vertical on the cooking side. That's based on the conversation history we've learned over past, because people have been asking Poncho about cooking tips. And then we recently started doing around politics, voting, encourage everybody to go vote. We also start a very useless side project called whatthebot.ai, basically a Tumblr blog where we would love to have every one of bot companies here to submit screenshots of phone conversation using your bots have. It's completely useless, it's not making any money, but we thought it's just fun to do it. And then we are hiring technology engineer lead.
You must like cats and sandwiches.
That's it. Any questions?
What software or frameworks is your what is it written on? Sorry, what software or backend what do you program it in?
So the Facebook bot was built on Node.js. But since Poncho's been around for a while, we have an API system built on Python. So we do a lot of API calls back and forth between the bot and the API system. And the conversation part is built using BriefScript. And we also use WidAI for understanding the context sensitivity of different parts of the conversation. So that way we can tie up or figure out weather intents versus accessories versus people asking for the time or anything else.
Hi guys, great job by the way. You mentioned that you have outbound notifications on Facebook and such. What kind of protection mechanisms, for TCPA violations or blocking do you have currently?
So we can't hear you.
You mentioned you have outbound capabilities. When you guys start sending out outbound over Facebook, is that considered a TCPA violation without an opt-in? And how do you guys deal with that?
It's considered an opt-in because users, as they go through an onboarding flow, they choose the times that they want the notifications. They say that they want these permissions to do so. We've also been approved for the page messaging subscription scope on Facebook to allow us to do that.
And do you guys have any specs on throughput that you've had? Benchmarks? Throughput?
Throughput?
Yep.
I don't know. On daily, I mean, the screenshot we showed you on the bot analyzer we look at in the afternoon, it was like 110,000 interactions. So I think it's around that number. Any other questions?
Oh, sorry. Any more questions?
Hey, the edit conversation screen looked really cool. You guys custom built that, and you said RiveScript, is that right?
Correct.
Is there any way there's like an open source or variation of that anywhere?
Talk to me afterwards. Okay. We've been kicking around some ideas on how we can improve RiveScript, helping Noah Peter Bridge out with that, but there's a lot of ideas we've been kicking around as well of how we can take Poncho to the next level.
Sweet.
Would love to talk to you about that.
Sweet, thanks.
For the analytics side, what do you guys, did you guys roll your own analytics for all these things, or are you using third party?
We're using a mix of both. So we're using Mixpanel to track a lot of events and understand just overall triggers that get happen or get hit. We're also helping a couple different bot analytics companies test out their platforms and giving them feedback as well. So I think we're sending it to about 6 different places at once, trying to see what we can learn from each of the different platforms and go from there.
Yeah, to follow along the analytics stuff, I'm curious. I mean, daily active users is one metric, but I'm curious if you guys have found any other metrics about like the health of a bot, like response rates, anything interesting that you can share.
I think for us, one of the things that we've tested out is this idea of a follow-on. So with Facebook and Kick and other platforms, you can get the read receipt of when somebody reads a message. And so sometimes we'll schedule what we call a follow-on message that we'll send once we know that the user's read it to kind of prompt them to continue the conversation a bit more. So if you guys get a forecast message, it'll tell you the forecast. You may not look at it right away, but if you look at it an hour later, you may get something that then asks you about your day, or did you vote, or did you register to vote? What did you think about this? Is the weather good? And we've seen a lot of interaction improvements because of that. So we've been able to see the bounce rate, or our bounce rate drop a little bit, and be able to see our messages per session jump up because of that.
Great presentation. I'm
Thanks.
I'm really curious if you guys have any thoughts about integration with like wearables, like Fitbit. So you've been wearing it, sleep analysis, and then you wake up and you were tossing and turning all night, and it has got something to say about that.
If you're working on something, I would love to talk to you about that then.
Okay.
Hi, you started the product from zero, and acquiring users is very tough. Do you consider the possibility of offering Poncho as a tool for other media companies or other companies that have interest in offering weather?
Yes, we have something planned along that direction. Let's talk offline.
I guess to follow up with that, like we are interested in finding a way to build a larger community of bots and be able to help other bots understand how to interpret things. So we've been talking to a couple different partners about doing handoffs. So let's say Poncho doesn't understand travel, we can hand it off to a travel bot. And vice versa, that travel bot, when they don't understand how to interpret weather for a user, can hand the bot over to us.
It's like a Marvel universe or Disney of bots.
All of our bots should have friends.
No one else has a question? Give Poncho a hand. That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.